Welcome to tonight's Crazy Wednesday edition of the Klown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Please continue to check me out on www.theclownhouse.net. That's my name of my website here. I will be updating it this evening and tomorrow with a couple of posts, one of which we may be touching on tonight. So anyway, you can check me out on Facebook as well. So whether you're on your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, wherever you may be, just type it in, the Klown Time. You'll find us there as well. I actually been posting up a couple of sophomore memes. One may have to do with may or may not have to do with Brett Favre, but in Halloween. But anyway, and last but not, well, a couple of things. Check out my merch at CapePress.com. Search for the Klown Time Sport. We shine stuff like this in t-shirts, sweatshirts, you name it. So the link will be is in the description underneath this video on YouTube. And also one last thing. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Even if you do not like anything what I or my guest has to say, just comment anyway. I have fun with the back and forth. In any event, you'll be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. Okay, so speaking of guests, speaking of crazy nights, I got my NBA buddy back here. You guys seen him many times before, Kevin McCune, one half of the Weekend Adjustments duo on the six, I think it's 15.
1450. Yeah.
1450. I knew it. Damn, I knew it. 1450. The ticket out of Hamilton, Ohio. His partner may be able to join us tonight, Jared Singleton, but this is Kevin McCune is in the house. Kevin, welcome, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey guys, when you're commenting, feel free to rip me apart. You know, my dad's had my inability to grow anything other than this musketeer look that I'm always rocking. Nice. I'm fine with it as long as you're engaging with Scott. So
there you go. That's funny. That is great. You may get some couple comments based on the strip of that alone. So that's pretty awesome. All right, man. I know we talked not that long ago. The reason why I got you back on here is because of what's going on in Brooklyn, which caught a lot of people so like caught some people by surprise. You called it, but you said by Christmas, but by you, I think you said on Twitter what you meant by this Christmas. You went yesterday.
So, yeah, I said, you know, I was like, yeah, I was on Scott's show this week. I said, you know, I think it happens, you know, at or before Christmas, you know, at least by Christmas, I think is when it happens. And I said, but you know what, I didn't call it in the next 5 days, you know, when since we met last. And so I thought that was fun. I saw that. I was like, well, I thought it was coming. I just didn't know it was coming this soon.
This soon.
Yeah.
This soon. Talk about early. Talk about a marathon. The NBA season is a freaking marathon. 82 games, and they broke off Steve Nash. And after 7?
Yeah.
After 7 games, I'll say this, man. Steve Nash didn't have a chance from the start. I mean, damn near soon after he got hired, remember that Kyrie said, that made an infamous quote, said, we don't need a coach. We can do it by committee. I can be the coach one night. Kevin be the coach another night. Steve can collaborate with us. He basically emasculated him before he coached the day of his life, and that was his first job.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know he was the assistant in Golden State during the Kevin Durant years when they were winning, and they had a relationship from there. But still, I mean, talk about like a first-time head coach going to that. Two guys who are non-leaders, and Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. More on Kyrie later, by the way. Speaking of dumpster fires, having to deal with that, and then the trade for James Harden, which got rid of the depth, and plus and not to say that Steve Nash is completely blameless. I mean, he did get circles coached around him, especially in the playoffs. Like before last year, the year before, when it got beat in the second round by Milwaukee, and on Milwaukee's way to win the title. He got out-coached in that series. I mean, he got the best player on the planet. And I know he's playing essentially 1-on-5 in terms of superstar caliber, right? Because James Harden was playing essentially one leg because of the hamstring issue, and then Kyrie was out. And then last year when he got got this coach the crap out of by Ime Udoka in the first round and made Brooklyn just uncompetitive. So I guess when all those, considering the superstar caliber that they had on paper, right, they expect them more. So I get that. So again, Nash is not completely blameless,
Mhm.
but I mean, it was just a Molotov cocktail of disaster from day one.
Yeah, and I think the pitfall with the Nash hire is that there was an effort to make kind of the sheen on everything look, super sexy, super, we got KD, we got Kyrie, and oh, who's our coach? Oh, you remember, former multiple time MVP Steve Nash, he's our coach. I think that was a very huge error, and I think that's, I mean, obviously played out over the last few years and in the Nets front office thinking, because I think if you look at the NBA and you look at some of the greatest coaches in NBA history, you look at Phil Jackson comes to mind, Greg Popovich comes to mind. I mean, you go all the way back into all the Pat Riley's days, and I think that the best NBA coaches, it's just like the NFL, but I think it's almost opposite in the NFL. And I have this analogy when I talk about college football and NFL coaches, where I say to be a good NFL coach, you have to be great at X's and O's. To be a great college coach, you've got to be a great car salesman. And I think that mindset is almost shifted with basketball, where in college you got to be a great X's and O's, and you said you have to recruit and all that as well. But
Of
like,
course.
but there's a reason. There's a reason why you see teams like Gonzaga and other teams that maybe aren't recruiting at at the echelon of some other programs that are always up there, because they have those great X's and O's coaches. And
right.
in the NBA, you have to. I wouldn't maybe necessarily say the car salesman kind of translates as much as saying like you have to be able to manage personalities. And like, I mean, you look at like Red Auerbach and like how players loved him, and you look at in the same, like, the suave of Pat Riley, the alpha dog of Phil Jackson, being able to manage the alpha, personalities that he had in his locker room, Michael Jordan, Scott Pippen. And then in that same token, you look at, Popovich and his ability to, one, roster build, but two, also, I think, find players that complemented, like their personalities complemented his style. And I a lot of times when you have me on, I'll play at my own personal biases, and I'm a Jazz fan, I'm a Cavs fan. I think John Beilein is a great example of a great X's and O's coach, and knows a lot about basketball, had tremendous success at West Virginia and then at Michigan. And but it didn't work in the NBA. And
no, it didn't. Not at all.
And then you look at his assistant, JB Bickerstaff, who, and even before the Cavs accumulated all the talent they have, and now and are looking as good as they do now, there was a difference in play when Bickerstaff took over with the roster that he had. Just, he was more of a player's coach. He knew better how to manage NBA personalities than what Beilein did, and that's why he ultimately went from interim coach to solidifying himself as the head coach, because he proved himself in that way. And I think that that's what you need in the NBA. And I'm not saying that Steve Nash could never do that. I'm not saying, and he did have a lot on his plate, but I'm saying like day one, these are the personalities you've been given, and you don't have experience in that. I think that more than anything was the hire was destined to fail, because you didn't know what you had in that regard. And
right,
and the Nets would have been better off hiring somebody with a track record who had proven it, and ultimately, like, I think that would have been more respected by guys like KD, by guys like Kyrie. I think maybe Kyrie doesn't make those comments about not needing a coach because those guys are prideful and they have a right to be there. The best players on earth, they're both top 10, 15 players, wherever you want to argue and put them. But definitely when the team was built, they were both, I would say, top 10. And you're telling these guys, okay, now we're going to put this guy in charge of you who at this level has never done it before. They probably were like, like whatever. And I think that showed. And I think there was probably a lack of trust and a lack of chemistry from day one.
Yeah. And the thing is that you brought up a good point, bringing in a coach that those cats would actually respect, guys like, when you mentioned Popovich, even though obviously it's with the Spurs,
Right.
Phil Jackson, like even Pat Riley from back, in the 80s and with the Heat. And, and running the Heat, because remember, when LeBron allegedly tried to, in his first year in Miami, tried to get rid of Eric Spoelstra,
Yeah.
Pat Riley emboldened Spoelstra and told LeBron essentially to sit his ass back down.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history. They had a successful run, and Spoelstra is one of the better head coaches in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, there's another coach out there who for some reason not getting any interviews since his days in Golden State, and Mark Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
The guys those guys will definitely respect.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah,
For some reason, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he would have been a tremendous call at the time, and I feel like with the hiring Nash, it was almost like you're handing him a legacy before he had earned it, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah,
and
of course.
I think those guys that was something that they were like, well, it's not on us to make this guy look good, and so yeah,
that's fair. That's totally fair. Well, I'll say this, man, and I think you agree with me on this, and most people would probably agree with this. I think Steve Nash, he's not done as a head coach in this league, because his overall record, look at his overall record, not counting playoffs,
mm-hmm.
he is 94-67. That's not exactly the scrub material. So
mm-hmm.
I think in the right situation with talent, mind you, because if he tries to go to somewhere like, I don't know, Orlando, even though they do have talent, it's very young talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Banchero kid. I really love him. But he needs some dudes on his team, but he needs guys he can mold.
Mm-hmm.
Like similar to the Celtics, more on them in the moment, where a lot of the guys in the 20s, in the prime, but in the 20s, and they're still eager to learn and not necessarily set in their ways.
Yeah.
Like a Kevin Durant, like a Kyrie Irving, who are both in their 30s. So, I think Nash is going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a nice severance package. But I think that he's going to get another shot. This is a matter of when. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Well,
and I think what was weird, maybe not weird, maybe even to be expected, actually, in all of it, was the reports that it was amicable. And like you hear like the conversations between Nash and between Marks, where Nash essentially went to Marks and said, these guys aren't responding to me. And that's what he told him. And I think that plays to what you're saying. If that's what he's saying, he's looking for players to mold. Whereas these guys are finished products. They don't need that. And that's probably maybe a little bit annoying to them, like,
sure, of course.
And so from his standpoint, I think with this group, he was done, and some people, I saw some people joking on social media, how can a firing ever be amicable? But I'm like, if you hear, he said, like, he's going to the GM and saying, I've said what I can say. I have no answers. They're not responding to me. And that's what he said. They're not responding to me. That's almost saying like, I think I'm done with this,
Yeah, I think he had enough. He had enough. Yeah. I think combined with what Kyrie said, which we'll get to in a moment, and then just happened the off season, combine that with the slow start, combine the fact that Ben Simmons refuses to shoot on offense. Now he's out for whatever reason. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's just rest. I don't know what the hell's going on. I think I think Steve Nash just said, screw this. Look, I'm a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. I know I can coach in this league. I just don't need this drama. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Even though people say it's the same as a firing, it may be so. But the point is that he just had enough. He said, Calgon, take me away. I'm like, for the young folks out there, it's an old commercial. Calgon, take me away. So I think he has to be taken the hell away out of that situation. Mm-hmm. Speaking of coaching, man, if that wasn't a bombshell, even though let's be real, it was the inevitable, right? We just didn't think it would happen so soon. How about his potential replacement in one Ime Udoka, mm-hmm. the same cat who was fired? Well, he was practically fired. He's suspended.
Right, suspended.
But I don't think he's going to ever coach in Boston again, mm-hmm. even if he didn't take this job. But the point is that he is rumored not only be a favorite, but they're finalizing a deal to have Ime coach the Nets. And mind you, like Ime has connections with him because he was Steve Nash's top assistant for a year. Then he was brought on by Sean Marks because they have a relationship dating back to the times with the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
So it's all about connections and relationships, right? In that, like in everyday life. The point is that look, I think Ime is he's on the verge of superstardom coaching. He got those boys in Boston to play defense. He was a point guard. He was a decent point guard play away from winning the NBA Finals. Let's just be real. The point guard play cost him. But the point is he got him there, right? And so he was heavily favored to get back there this year. And they could only get better, but we all know what happened in the off season. Got suspended for improper conduct as far as having, like, just for lack of a better term, eating way crap. Okay. But the point is that he was suspended, and rightfully so, because that you bring liability to states, especially in this day and age. You just can't do that.
Right.
You just can't do that.
And I wonder how much the Phoenix Suns situation had to do with Boston coming down so hard.
Yeah, exactly. That part. It's just a different era. It's a different era. I mean, you hear people all the time, like media folks, like journalists turn major media folks, and say, look, they've seen stuff. They've seen coaches get with like staff members. They've seen players get with staff members, and even some media members, right? It's just crazy. It's a crazy life in a locker room in any professional sports team. But I just think look, I'm all for Ime getting a second chance. He's going to coach again. We all know that. But this soon, that's my issue. Is it too soon? Because to me, with the allegations that Ime has been suspended for, it's almost like Brooklyn essentially has given women advocacy groups and stuff just a middle finger.
Yeah. Definitely. They're definitely going to have to really, really vet it, and I'm sure that's maybe why things haven't been finalized yet. And I did think it was interesting that there was a lot of hearsay around Ime and everything for a really long time. I think initially when it happened, it was like it was seemingly initially, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, portrayed that he had an affair with a coworker, and that was improper. And so like, even as like somebody who believes in the sanctity of marriage, I was like, really? Like that? Like you're suspending him for a year because he had an affair? I mean, that's a bad husband. But like but then then Matt Barnes came out with his podcast and said, look, I defended him at first, but now I know what he actually did. And he was kind of coy. And then all of a sudden, really, when I feel like in the last couple of days, when the Nets rumors have started, now we've started seeing like, oh, he's, sent, inappropriate things to multiple women on staff. I won't get into all of it because it's all alleged stuff, but like, it's like, and it's like, that's pretty crazy that now, I feel like there's more of a Pandora's box opening all of a sudden that another team is interested in acquiring him. Now there's more coming to light, more coming out, more rumors swirling. But to just speak to what you were touching on, the Nets have to definitely vet it. The Nets definitely have to there's going to be a target on them for sure, like you said, from women's advocacy groups and and like I play the social media game, and that's and I tell this to people at work, when people want to talk politics, I'm like, if it's just like if there's a team I root for and a guy does something or a coach does something, that I root for, I'm prone to defend that person. But then if it's the other team, then I'm bashing that person. I feel like
human nature.
The politics are the same way, right? And so just bringing it back into the sports realm, like they're gonna be a target of every other fan base that in the Eastern Conference or in the NBA. That they're giving every other fan base some fodder to play with on social media, and now that Musk is in charge, the fire could rage pretty hot.
That's another podcast for a whole another time. Elon Musk, that cat is something else. All right, bro. But before we move on, Let's just give my let me just give a quick shout out to my sponsor, BetUs.com. So listen to sports bettors, your favorite sports book, BetUs.com is back for our 20th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. So if you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds, boosters, props, and parlays, we got them. And how about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? We got that too. So log into betus.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. And use my promo code TKT for the Clown Times as well, so you can get more stuff off. So betus.com, where the game begins. One last quick thing on Ime before we move on. I just literally thought of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to know the Nets are going to have to cover themselves, right? I mean, because they have to put language in the contract, for example, to prevent something like occurring in this instance. Because, I mean, we've seen this in sports, right? We've seen like Steve, God, I forgot his last name. He used to be the New York Mets general manager, got fired for inappropriate conduct with female staffers, got hired on by ESPN as a Major League Baseball analyst, was great at his job. He was one of the better analysts in the business. But guess what? He did the same thing at ESPN and got canned from that too. I think of his last name in a minute. But the point is that I want Ime to do well. Again, he's earned the right to coach again. We all know that he's a damn good coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just wonder, that's and that thing with Sharon Brain is, I just wonder if this is too soon.
Mm-hmm.
But the scab is still raw. It hadn't really healed just yet. They haven't really settled the situation in Boston as is, because remember, he's suspended. Right. So it's hard to call. And I don't know if it's going to really fit. Because, yes, I know KD has respect for him. They have a relationship. I'm pretty sure Kyrie has respect for him, having been there as an assistant before. And it's been said that those two guys in particular, no stars on that team, will go to Ime more than they will go to Nash. So there's a relationship there. There's a rapport of some sort there. I just don't know if they're ready. When I say they, I mean Kyrie and KD. If they're ready to be held accountable, like the way Ime held Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and company, Marcus Smart accountable in Boston on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. How he got that turned around. Because remember that when I said the 20-somethings compared to 30-somethings who are set in their own way, mm-hmm. Who are comfortable now instead of being hungry. I think that's the part I worry about.
Yeah. And I would worry too, just for Ime's sake, taking that job and where their mindsets are and where their hearts are. I mean, both guys tried to force trades in the off season and over the summer. It wasn't, and they didn't want Steve Nash to be there, but I don't necessarily think that firing Steve Nash is heals everything with the friction that they had with the organization, with the front office. I mean, you look at the comments that the owner made over the summer. I mean, those were direct shots at Kyrie and direct shots at KD. Yeah. And you look at Kyrie going out last night and only scoring 4 points. And, he's a better player than that. And I'm not saying that they're tanking and that they're not trying, but I think if your heart isn't in it, and these guys maybe, they didn't get their way in a sense, like they, how excited are they or to still be there? They obviously feel like whatever they wanted to happen wasn't working. They both were trying to force trades. And if it's a situation that they still no longer want to be a part of, I don't necessarily think that, Jacques Vaughn in the interim or trading for, Ime, necessarily heals all those wounds. And, right. And you could be walking into a situation that is very quickly a rebuild situation. If things continue to go south and if the organization eventually feels it's best to just cave to what these guys were wanting in the summer, because they lose Kyrie this coming summer if they don't do something.
I think he's going out of the way. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I think they want him gone. So there you go. I know he's talented, uber talented, but it's just not worth it. Speaking of Kyrie, we're gonna close the show on his more of his dumbassery. If you want to know this made up a word, but I mean, yeah, okay. So basically we all know what happened, right? He basically tweeted a link last Thursday to the 2018 movie Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, which is based on a book of the same name. Rolling Stone described the book and the movie as, quote, stuff with anti-Semitic tropes, which you just do not do, okay? I don't care if you say or just tweet it. You just don't, if anything anti-Semitic, you just stay the hell away from it. I think most of us outside of Nazis know that, right? But basically, Kyrie, after he got called out, he doubled down because why? It's Kyrie Irving. He said that, quote, he's not going to stand down on anything he believed in. He also went on to say, and this is more of his quotes, quote, in terms of the backlash from 2022, history is not supposed to be hidden from anybody. I'm not a divisive person because of religion. I embrace all walks of life. So the claims of anti-Semitism and who are the original church people of God, and we go into religious conversations, and it's a big no-no. I don't live my life that way. Okay. But still, he didn't apologize. None of that stuff was an apology. And now, of course, Josiah, the owner, tweeted he was disappointed in it. Several organizations condemned the tweet, including the Anti-Defamation League, of course, the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets, and I mentioned the owner as well. If you have the Anti-Defamation League knocking on your door, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it. You're doing it all wrong. Okay? I think we all agree with that. And recently, Amari Stoudemire, I just got this alert on my phone, calling him to, quote, apologize for it, because we all know, those of us know that Amari converted to Judaism, I think in 2020, like 2 years ago, during the pandemic. And so what's makes this even stickier is you can't really suspend him in the NBA because guess what? He's a vice president, I believe, of the Players Association. So of course they're gonna fight that. And so it's a mess, man. I mean, I don't know if you saw last night or the night before, where some fans in the front row seats wore T-shirts in support of the Jewish community. I think they were all Jews. They had the yarmulkes in their head. And they I forgot the exact message, but it says justice for Jews. I'll just paraphrase that. And that's the silent protest in the front row. What if you're the Nets? I mean, maybe that's why Steve Nash wanted out too. I have to deal with this anti-Semitic, this dude, we tweeted anti-Semitic crap on top of the other drama I have to deal with. If you're the Nets, man, what do you do? What do you do? It's too late to suspend him now because it seemed that's reactionary.
Right. And you didn't yet. And so, and I think it's part of the mess that any organization that ties themselves to Kyrie might find themselves in certain situations. I did see one sports personality tweet out, there's a really good chance that Kyrie hadn't even read the book or watched the movie.
Yeah.
He retweeted what he retweeted.
And said that too, yeah.
Just had to double down to try to save face. And, I think Kyrie, I want to be careful and then say that, like, he is and has been for a while kind of a fake intellectual. I think he wants to be seen as someone that has, all this wisdom and all this knowledge. And I'm not saying that he doesn't read or study or have, very deep thoughts on the world and different things. But I also think that in a desire for that to be his image, sometimes he goes about it in immature ways. And for instance, perhaps tweeting a link that maybe if he didn't know that there was any anti-Semitism, behind the content, then that's just, you're being irresponsible at that point. If you're tweeting that stuff out. And but from his, the world is flat to other things, and I never want to ever be someone that is, I think that the shut up and dribble mantra is in itself, bigoted.
Sure.
But I do, so I want to preface that and say, like, I do think if Kyrie would focus on his career and being the best basketball player, I think he'd be right up there with Curry as far as the top point guards.
Sure.
And I don't fault him for wanting to be more than that, but I think he needs to be more responsible and more mature in his pursuit of being more than that. And hopefully for him, this is a lesson for him. This is a learning experience that he will then, go on in the future and heed everything that has kind of all the fallout. But as far as the Nets, like you said, I'm not exactly sure what more they can do from here on out, other than just cutting ties at some point and trading Kyrie and washing their hands.
Who's going to trade for him?
Good point. Good point.
Who's going to trade for him at this point? Hell no. That's one more year, but yeah, I get your point. I get it. Now, this is recently, it came across my phone alert on The Athletic, from The Athletic, which is, if those of you out there who don't have subscription to The Athletic, I highly recommend you get a subscription. It's great, it's great to read. But Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets will each donate $500,000 to causes and organizations that, quote, work to eradicate hate and intolerance. They announced in a joint statement with the Anti-Defamation League on Wednesday. That was earlier today. So there you go. Now, that's fine. Okay. And maybe, this is better, a gesture is better than nothing, right? And again, remember I said, you don't want the Anti-Defamation League knocking on your door, or maybe someone got to him, or maybe someone showed him the link. Maybe someone showed him a clip or two.
Yeah.
So some passages from the book. Maybe he said, oh crap, I gotta do something about. So look, again, I don't know how the Nets are going to do this year. It's still a long season. They're too talented to finish anything below 6th in the league, even though I think you and I spoke on this. Jared spoke on this last week. Their chemistry is terrible. And I know that they're missing people. They're missing Steph Curry. Joe Harris still getting his legs up under him, right? So those are two shoes that will help space the floor for everybody else, particularly Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to do their things, and even Ben Simmons to a certain extent to do like assists or whatnot. But I don't know. They're just I don't want to call them terrible. On paper, they got the talent to win the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
But they got the chemistry of a 5th grade chemistry class that blows up in everybody's faces. Yeah. So I don't know. I wish Steve Nash the best. I'm praying for the tens of hundreds of Nets fans out there. But it's a real dumpster fire. This is must see. I mean, just like your boy Jared said last week, the NBA where drama never ends.
Yeah.
So, and that's the Brooklyn Nets right now. So tag Brooklyn, you're gonna be here for a while. All right, might as well call it now, man. So thank you, man, for joining us, man. Thank you for Kevin McCune. Again, where can they follow you right quick?
Yeah, just follow me at Kevin McCune, KevinMccune.
Cool. And thank y'all for tuning into this podcast. Hope we do better the next time. Please continue to check out my blog, www.theclowntimes.net, as you see here. You can get the merch at cafepress.com, such as the Clown Time Sports, as well as please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You'll be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. So until next time, y'all take care. Have a great night and have a great weekend. Peace out.